David Copperfield is one of the world's most recognizable faces in the entertainment industry. Forbes magazine describes him as the most commercially successful magician in history. He began his professional career as an illusionist at 16. During the past 30 years, he's earned 11 Guinness World Records, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and a knighthood by the French government. If that isn't enough, he's also been named a living legend by the U.S. Library of Congress. Known for his spectacular stage shows and television specials that combine illusions and storytelling, Copperfield has sold more than 40 million tickets and grossed over $4 billion. Not surprisingly, that's more than any other solo entertainer in history. For the past 30 years, Copperfield has also devoted himself to the work of his foundation, Project Magic. So what is Project Magic? It's an innovative therapeutic technique. Here's how it works. Volunteer magicians train therapists and patients in using magic tricks to improve physical dexterity, functional skills, and communication. The American Occupational Therapy Association formally endorsed Project Magic as an alternative therapy back in 1982. The program is now being used by hospitals and rehab centers across the United States and in 30 countries around the world. It has helped thousands of patients of all ages. I recently sat down with David Copperfield at his home in Las Vegas, where he reflected on his incredible career and the success of Project Magic. David, what I find fascinating about you is you're a little kid, you start doing these tricks.
I'm still a little kid.
Okay, clarification immediately. By 16, you're this child prodigy, you're teaching at NYU. When did David Copperfield realize he was going to be this David Copperfield? Was it along the way, when you hit your 20s, 30s? What was it? Or back then, did you say, this is what I'm going to become?
I don't know. I'm still one of those guys that still are trying to get it right. Still trying to, figure out what makes it good. And I think that's probably my best secret, is not really ever being totally satisfied or convinced, not really looking. You see all this stuff. You see your name on the building, and you see, a lot of people happy at the same time, but still something inside of me wants to keep making it better.
It's funny, I had a few minutes to kind of snoop around. I noticed over here there's a book that says More Than Human, and I almost feel like it should be your autobiography. I was talking to you.
I'm not human, actually. The battery's in the back.
But I was talking to your assistant, Stacy, and I'm like, I'm looking at all the things that you do. And I mean, this is just one facet of what you do. I mean, there's a wide range. And I'm like, where does he find the time? I mean, that may be your best magic act. You have a 27-hour day versus 24 the rest of us?
I wish that would be great. I take little cat naps. I don't have the best sleep schedule. I get a nap from 4 to 6 every day, and then I get ready for my show. So I know I have that time to kind of regenerate a bit. I love the result of what I do. The process isn't always fun, but the result is good, and it's very motivating to watch an audience's reaction when something works. It's torture when it doesn't work. It's torture when you have an idea and it's different and new, and you sit there and go like that, and reviews will be bad about one thing. You'll get these reviews online, and you say, oh my God, should I give up? And my teammates will go, no, here's some reviews of some things you love, and they pick that apart too. You're trying to innovate, you're trying to be better, you're trying to be different, you're trying to go to the next level, and that's going to be, remember that every single person that you admire, every single movie you admire and play you admire went through those stages, as long as there are pieces of work that weren't replications of what was done before. As long as if you're trying to do something different or new, it's always going to be a kind of a rough period.
In a 2013 interview with the Wall Street Journal, you talked about Frank Sinatra and how he created this brand, and that at some point in your career you decided, I've got to have my brand. What is the David Copperfield brand?
I never thought of it as a brand. I never thought of it like, Wrigley's gum or, Coca-Cola, or I never thought of it like that. Just recently, it's been like, okay, we're going to call this a brand in our own mind. For me, it really grew from something that really has to have a heart. There has to be kind of a soul to it. If you try to just make the package a good package, or things that have certain rules, it's soulless. And I think it has to have a soul. Every single thing that I do that has worked, and not everything has always worked, when it's worked, there's been a great amount of soul behind it, which hadn't been done before. Magic was always about the amazement and wonder. It was never about the thing that had a kind of a core value or a core message or a feeling that I wanted to impart through that magic.
You're talking about soul. The thing that I find interesting is that's one word you use, but another word that you've used a couple of times in this interview is child, and you corrected me. You said I'm still a kid. How much of that childhood wonder has to come out in your show? And is it just connecting with the kids, or is it connecting with people like myself, the kid inside all of us, that they walk out with a big smile at the end of the evening? I mean, what is that childlike quality of magic, really, in a sense?
Well, I think magic in itself, obviously, is taking Mother Nature and turning it upside down. It's taking Mother Nature and saying, hey, ignore the rules that life gives you. You know, the fact that you can't float and you can't disappear and you can't be sawed in half and things aren't supposed to appear and disappear. Throw that out the window, and you're going to disarm you and suspend your disbelief, leave your doubts at the door, and we're going to show you something fantastic. That's obvious. That's what I'm going to do, no matter what. But then beyond that, or within that, there has to be something that really talks to the people that are watching it. It'll be stories that they can relate to. It can be something they would laugh at, things that they can take home with them that they already have inside them. You know, they don't come in. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, "I'm going to make a car appear today." You know, unless they want to buy a car. Nobody says, "Oh, I'm going to make the Statue of Liberty disappear today." You know, nobody says that. But they do talk about loss, they talk about happiness, they talk about certain dreams and needs. So I tap in those things that people relate to and put everything else on top of that.
Your life is a banquet. You're not just doing this. I mean, you're working on films, you've got your resort. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. What gives you the greatest satisfaction, or is it just having your hand on all these different things and doing all these different things?
I like people going, wow. I like people being disarmed by things, people being, you know, kind of like seeing that feeling of wonder. I see it every night. People say, wow, how can you do 15 shows a week for 11 weeks straight, no days off? How do you do it? Well, there's only one way, because I get something out of the audience. I really get something back, you know. I get a feeling from them that's, you know, I share an experience that they're getting nowhere else, and they give me that satisfaction back. In my resort thing, it's the same thing. The resort is kind of a bespoke experience where people choose, like Fantasy Island, they can choose to be James Bond, or they can choose to be a pirate, they can choose to be this and then or nothing. They can just enjoy the place. And we've got very, very rich experiences that take place there that make them really be immersed in another world. My museum gives the same kind of feeling to people when they experience it. So it's really taken to the audience on another place, to another, to a very special, inspirational place. It gives me a lot of satisfaction. It allows me to do many different things.
I want to talk to you a little bit about Project Magic, but before we go there, you've had an opportunity to be cemented here in Las Vegas, but of course you've toured all around the world. And you and I had a chance to chat before we started rolling about your affection for China. So talk to me about that experience and what was it like?
Well, how many hours do you got? I mean, I spent lots of time there. I shot a special there where I walked through the Great Wall of China. It was an amazing collaboration with the Americans and CCTV, your company. This is back in the day when all new equipment was they had all the amazing equipment who collaborated and teaching each other how to use this equipment there. It was at a time where every single place that you looked in China, there was cranes building buildings and so forth. I mean, literally the year I went back afterwards, buildings that weren't there before. It was an amazing, amazing time. And I have a great love for the Chinese people. Amazing kind of love affair. We both have both ways. I've toured there 4 or 5 times, playing everywhere. You know, obviously Beijing and Shanghai and Guangzhou, every single city all around China, doing my show with translations, reading Chinese off the stage. I have all the Chinese words reading phonetically on the stage, and I thought, why are you looking down? Well, I'm reading the Chinese on the stage. And of course I'm saying it badly because the pronunciation is very, very specific, but they were so generous with their kind of understanding that I'm trying to trying to say the words correctly for them. And they found it very funny when I messed up the language that the little kids say. But it's great, you know. It's magic is language. There's no language barrier with magic.
Let's talk about Project Magic, because it's more than magic, it's medicine. And how did it come about?
It started when I was on tour, and I got letters from a fan, a magician. And he wrote me letters, I wrote him back, and he never told me he was disabled. And he sent me a picture of himself, and he was in a wheelchair. I said, wow, that's incredible. And there was a picture and an advertisement of him as a magician. And I wrote him back and said, you never told me you were, you know, disabled. And he says, yeah, I know. And I said, well, when you advertise yourself as a magician, and people, you show up, roll up in a wheelchair, what was the reaction? Because there was no, you know, identification of him being disabled in any of his advertisement. And he said that was their problem, and that he had this amazing self-image because he could do things that able-bodied people couldn't do. He had a special skill. He felt really good about himself, and it was largely because he was able to do magic. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. That's true of me. You know, I was not physically disabled or mentally disabled, I don't think, but socially disabled. I think we're all socially disabled. We all want to have friends, and we all want to, you know, get the girl in high school. We all want to talk to that person. And magic was my kind of tool to overcome that. It gave me a lot of strength. And I thought, well, okay, it gave me that strength socially. It also kind of taught me certain things. It taught me certain rules. I learned about math because of mathematical tricks. I learned about sleight of hand, learned kind of movement by having to learn magic to get people to go, wow. I learned gross motor skills and fine motor skills. Even though I didn't have a disability, it did teach me things. So I took that concept and I brought it to a hospital in California, and we collaborated with occupational therapists and physical therapists and the doctors and said, hey, is this idea, would this work? You know, can you really learn and overcome or gain goals or, you know, reach certain goals if you learn these pieces of magic? Yes, this can work. So I got together with a bunch of magicians, and we came up with a bunch of ideas to bring to the medical professionals and find, okay, what can we do to teach this? What can we do to teach this? Because in therapy, they have the rubber band and the block going in the thing, and the stacking of the cones to get your life experience back together. We found magic that did the same thing. So not only was it a physical activity, but it's something that they could show their family, and their family could go, you're amazing. And they could see that reaction on their family's face that they've lost for a certain. Normally they get the reaction, oh, you okay? But now they're, wow, you're great. It's an enormous big gift to give somebody that's been through any kind of trauma. So we put together a book. It's now in 1,000 hospitals in 30 countries around the world for about 30 years ago. It's 30 years old. And it really does work, and it's a transitional tool. We're not trying to make magicians out of patients. We're trying to help them transition and learn to get dressed again by learning a rope trick, or, you know, show them that they can take that leap into relearning those skills.
So there's always an idea, and then there's the execution, and then there's kind of like this vision, well, maybe this will end up in a hospital or two. I mean, you probably never thought it was going to go this far. What are some of the things that you've seen? I mean, you must hear back from some of these patients saying, hey, thanks, I'm able to do this, and my family's wowed by it.
Yeah, I mean, we've had, you know, people that, you know, come to me and they start giving me money for the charity, not me money, but the money for the charity. And I said, what happened? I said, well, you know, you got me my father back. And I said, no, I didn't get your father back. No, you did. You got my father back. You know, my father was totally just, you know, not in good shape, and he started learning Project Magic, and then we had something to communicate about, and we talked about it, and you know, he starts telling me the story, and he begins to weep and start telling how it really happened. It was the tool that really got them to communicate after many, many years. And the father's now active and so forth. It was needed that one little thing to kind of have a new outlook on life. And it's amazing how a simple thing like magic can make that much of an impact.
I always kind of see the medical community is kind of closed. They're doctors, they read these books, and all of a sudden here's David Copperfield saying, hey, maybe this could really help. Did you get any resistance along the way?
A little bit, you know, of course. But then you kind of show it and they go, okay. And now, you know, there's so much innovative medicine, innovative techniques. Back in the 80s when this began, it was a little bit less so. So now, you know, now I think we're on really kind of trained to have all kinds of great ideas as therapy, dance therapy and music therapy and drama therapy and that stuff. And all those things really work in their own way. You know, the fact, laughter therapy, it's amazing how smiles can really lift you up, you know. I once had a singing teacher. I can't sing, but I had a singing teacher, and his technique, he would laugh out of bed. Even though he wasn't happy getting out of bed, he would ha 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 laugh out of bed, and it changed his day. And I tried it a few times. I haven't done it my whole life, but it does work. You know, it's little things like that do work in their own way. You know, we're programmed to, our chemicals work when we smile a little bit. And it's amazing the little things that make a difference.
All right, I promise I won't steal this, but will you teach me a magic trick?
I can do something like a Project Magic piece. This is a thing where you take a rope and I take a rope.
Okay.
You have to follow along here. I'm going to hold the rope like this.
Okay.
Very nicely done. Very good.
Is that good?
Now what you're going to do is you're going to go around the arm, exactly around the arm like this, and down. I'm sorry. This right hand. You're doing good so far. Let me turn like this.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So like this.
Okay, something like this.
You're going to go around the arm like this.
Okay, like
take this hand.
This arm.
Yes.
Okay.
And then down like this.
Okay.
Doing really good so far.
Not really.
Your hands got to come like this.
Okay.
He's a broadcaster. Good, you're there. You're there.
All right. Good. Good.
So I'm going to start again. You see, you're good. Now you're here, right? So you've made two loops.
Here. Okay. Have I?
Yes, you have.
Okay.
See that?
All
one?
right. Okay.
You're going to in this one.
Okay. Like that.
Well done. Good.
Okay.
And out this one.
And out. Like.
Out this loop here.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay.
This works better in hospitals, just so you know. And then watch me. I'll go first.
Okay.
And you have a knot like that. Don't let go to the ends. Just throw it off your wrist. You have.
Wow.
Let's start again. Try again here. You're going to get better this time. Here you go.
No, I'm not. I have a feeling.
Okay.
This is going to be a disaster.
Take this hand.
Okay, yes.
Come towards yourself.
Okay, like this.
And go around the arm.
All right.
And then
Hold
down.
on,
Very good.
yeah,
You got
okay,
it. Now
all
you
right.
get it much smoother.
Okay.
You have these two loops. Do you see the two loops
It's
there?
like this, yes.
You know, this loop and that loop. You're
Okay.
in this
Go
loop.
in like that.
And out
like
this one.
Through this one?
Yep. Mhm.
Okay.
And out the other one.
Okay.
Push it out there. Good job.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Now, actually, we can do this again. And I will have a knot, beautiful knot there.
Okay.
Go ahead, go.
So just go like this?
Sorry. And we need some more practice, I think.
How about we do this?
Yes.
How about you and I stay right here,
Yes.
and you just do an abracadabra and you make us disappear.
Okay, abracadabra, bad camera tricks, go.